Hey guys, it's Mr. Schmidt here, and in this video we're going to answer the question, what is economics? So I want to take you back to the previous video we did on resources and add in this idea of scarce resources. So land, labor, and physical capital are what we call scarce resources. So what is a scarce resource? Well, it's any resource that cannot be used simultaneously by two people. It's also called a rival resource. So as an example, consider a hammer on a table. If I pick up the hammer to use it to hammer a nail into a board, that is a hammer you could not be using, right? Because if I'm using the hammer, it's in my hand. Unless you take it out of my hand, you can't be using it. That's the idea of a scarce resource. It cannot be shared or used by two people at the same time. Now, if you remember here, there are two types of resources that I did not include in this list: human capital and entrepreneurship. Those are not scarce resources. Why is that? Well, if you just consider human capital, I can know 2 plus 2 is 4 at the exact same time that you know 2 plus 2 is 4, right? Established knowledge, as an example, is not a scarce resource because it can be used by multiple people at the same time, right? Like if we were both taking a math test and here comes a problem, 2 plus 2 is 4, we could both answer that math problem and solve it at the same time. So human capital, entrepreneurship are not scarce resources or rival resources. Again, make sure we're knowing that there are multiple ways to call something, right? The terminology, there's different terms mean the same thing, basically, sorry. So that leads into this idea of scarcity, and scarcity is the most important concept in all of economics, so we need to know this term inside and out. It's the idea that there are limited or scarce resources, but unlimited human wants, okay? The idea that there are limited resources, but unlimited human wants. So scarcity forces people to choose, right? Because if there are only so many hammers out there, if there are only so many trees out there, whatever the case may be, what are we going to do? Am I going to use the hammer or are you going to use the hammer? Are we going to use this tree for paper? Are we going to use it for an environment for animals that live near the tree or on the tree? These are some of the choices that we have to make because of scarcity. Scarcity forces people to have to choose, and that's the key here, okay? And so economics then is the study of how a society manages those scarce resources. What decisions does a society make? That's the idea of economics in a nutshell, okay? And so basically we're going to spend the rest of the course just looking at different people, different groups of people, and what are the decisions they're making given the fact there's only so much land, there's only so much labor, there's only so much physical capital out there. What are they going to do with those resources? Now, there are two major branches in economics, and I want to wrap up the video by talking about each one very briefly. The first one is called microeconomics, and that is the study of the economic decisions of individuals and firms, which is a way of saying sellers, okay? So microeconomics might look at, it might look at, is Apple's App Store harmful to developers, right? Because the App Store requires developers to pay 30% of their profits to Apple. Is that harmful to competition? Or is a college education worth it to someone? Those are things studied in microeconomics, right? Most questions in economics typically are microeconomic questions, because unless you're looking at the big picture, it's probably a question of microeconomics. Now, if we are looking at the big picture, that would be macroeconomics, and that's the study of the economy as a whole. So in macro, you would look at something like unemployment, right? How many people are unemployed in the country? Are certain subgroups of people more likely to be unemployed than others? Or what's happening to all prices in the economy? Are they going up? Are they going down? Are they staying stable? Are only certain prices increasing over others? Those are questions of macroeconomics. Now, I will point out really quickly before we end this video, this word economy, you'll notice I did not put it in red and didn't define it here. We're going to actually define what an economy is in the next video. So that's all for this video on the study of economics. Until next time, have a great day.